So for this project, we're going to combine clipping masks and layer masks to create some effects. So the first thing we want to do is we want to isolate the subject of this image. So I'm going to grab one of my selection tools, quick selection tool. Whenever you have a selection tool selected, these buttons at the top become available. So I'm going to click Select Subject. Because this image has depth of field where the subject is in focus and the background is not, it'll do a pretty good selection. Good starting point anyway. See, it missed some things in the horns here. So I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to hold down the Option key with my quick selection tool selected, and I'm going to start subtracting some of these mistakes here. And left bracket to make your brush smaller, an Option to subtract and get inside these little tight areas. And we can refine our mask a little bit. And get rid of some of this grass that's selected. And that looks pretty good. So whenever you have an active selection, the selected mask button should become available. And this is where we're going to refine the selection for the hair detail. So if you have the latest version of Photoshop, you can click the Refine Hair button, see how that does. But if not, you can use the Refine Edge brush. So with the Refine Edge brush, I'm going to paint just on the edge. So my brush is the edge of my brush is hitting the elk. And I want to get some of that hair detail back that might have got cut off. And that's looking pretty good. And it's getting a little of the background, so if you want to get rid of some of it, you can use this brush tool, hold down Option, kind of paint it away. So when you're done, you want to output. So output to new layer with layer mask, hit OK. And I'm going to add a new blank layer. So I'm going to click the plus sign at the bottom of my layers panel. This is going to be my background. And I'm going to drag it to the bottom. And I'm going to fill it with white. Now I'm going to bring in the river image. So I'm going to go to the river tab, grab my move tool, click right on the image, drag it to the elk tab, wait for it to change. I'm not letting go of the mouse. Drag it down, drop it. And I want this on top of the elk in the layer stack. And I want it to be bigger than the elk. So I'm going to hit Command T. And I'm going to click and drag one of these corners while holding Option so it resizes from the middle. And when it's bigger than the elk, hit Return to apply the change. Now I want to clip this river to the elk shape. I'm going to hover between the two layers with my mouse, hold down the Option key until I get that clipping group icon and click once. That'll indent the image and clip it to the layer below it. So you see it's already looking pretty cool, but we're going to take it a little further. So with this river layer selected, we're going to click the mask button, grab a paintbrush. We want a soft edge brush, so make sure you go in here to your brush settings, make the hardness 0. I'm going to turn down the opacity to like 30. Make my brush a little bigger by hitting the right bracket. I'm going to slowly put in some, mask out some of the river to reveal the elk. So I'm doing a little at a time because the opacity is turned down on my brush. So I want some of the rock's going to be seen a little bit through the hair, which is kind of what I want. Maybe I make the face 100% opaque, but then it fades off up in the horns or antlers. Fades off at the bottom. So we got a little bit of hair in there. Now that's kind of the effect we're looking for. And if you want to add some black and white adjustment layers, you could click on the elk, go to your adjustment layers at the bottom, try a black and white, and mess around with those effects and see what you think. If you like it but it's too black and white, you can reduce the opacity on this. So it just kind of mutes the color a little bit. So that's what we're going to be doing for this assignment. We're combining clipping masks and layer masks.